What distinguishes Yemos Mashiach from exile?
When does Yemei Mashiach start?
Yeah.
It's even though that's not what it says on this page over here, but I'll explain it anyways, just because you asked the question, and this is we're learning about Mashiach, so it doesn't hurt to speak about this. What does Mashiach mean? What Mashiach is a person. Mashiach is a person. That word Mashiach means smeared with oil.
It's also an error.
That's Yemois HaMashiach. No, what's Yemois HaMashiach? So I'm saying, but what does the error mean? What defines the error? He's asking, what defines the error? How do you know you're in the error? When does the error start? What exactly? So that's my point. What makes the error the man? The whole idea of the name of the error. Okay, so what you're asking is, like in Gemara it says in the Sanhedrin, Shnei Alofim Yemeisa Mashiach. So, what's that meant to mean? Well, let's do one thing at a time. Imagine they would say Yemois HaKohen Gadol, the days of the Kohen Gadol. Mashiach is a person. What would the days of the Kohen Gadol mean? An era that has some type of a connection to the Kohen Gadol. Yemei David, like Chazal say. Yemei Shloimeh. This is terms, Yemei Moshe, Yemei Yeshua. This is the term Chazal use. So you're saying Yemei Mashiach, Yemei HaMashiach. It's a time in the world that has to do with this person. That's the simple meaning of the word Yemois HaMashiach. So now in the Gemara when it says Shnei Alofim Yemeisa Mashiach, 2,000 years of Yemeisa Mashiach, so what does that mean? Mashiach gets born in the first year of these 2,000 years and he lives for 2,000 years? Well, what does it meant to mean? So Rashi in the Gemara over there in Sanhedrin explains what does it mean Shnei Alofim Yemeisa Mashiach. He says this is a time when a Mashiach is expected to come in this 2,000 years. Now, what does it have to do with the person? So obviously, the way we're going to need to explain this is the way the Stei Chemed, the Barbanel, the Chasam Sofer, many Mefarshim say that from the day the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, like it says clearly in Eicha Rabbah, the day Noilad Mishin Shal Yisrael, Mashiach was born. What does it mean Mashiach was born? So the way, the potentiality of, so this is exactly what it's saying in the Gemara, what Rashi is saying in the Gemara. It's worthy for Mashiach to come. What does that mean? That it's a time when there's already a person in the world, from this point and on, there's a person in the world that is, if the generation is going to merit, so the Eibishter will appoint him and say, you're Mashiach, and take the Eden out of Golis. But he's
questions with that, because they say the 2,000 years, but Yechkiah
was even before. Okay, right. And it says if right. So that would be the way you would need to explain that is there's a concept of Zachu or Zachu Achishena. If they are worthy, this that the Gula would come. It would need to be in some extra special schus, like it says. That they were in Zoicha then in the times of Yemei Chizkiah, so he wasn't Mashiach. But if it would need to be something very, I'm saying, need to be extra special Zachu for it to come in these times. We see it says Ilu Zachu Moshe Rabbeinu when they took the Eden out of the Yam Suf. Why is he saying Mikdash Adon Koinu Yadecha? And like Rashi says B'shtei Yadayim. So the Medrash says if the Eden would have been Zoicha, they would come out of the Yam Suf. Kevon Sha'alu Parsisei Min Ayam. If they would have been Zoicha, they would have gone straight to the third Beis Hamikdash. Then right after Kiryat Shamsa would bring them into Eretz Yisrael, and then would be Matan Torah, I don't know, something like that. But it says then, that's why he's already saying Mikdash Adon Kohen Yadachla. So obviously, it's what it says, Ilu Zachu, if they would have been Zoicha. That means they would need to be Zoicha. Exactly, and many other things, and especially Maaseh Dei Moshe's Nitzchim. Whatever Moshe did, the Mishkan that Moshe did was never destroyed. It got buried. It's somewhere, but it wasn't destroyed like the Beis Hamikdash. Something that Moshe Rabbeinu makes, so he would make the Beis Hamikdash, it would have lasted forever. But what the lashon over there is Ilu Zachu. If they were Zoich, that means you would need some type of out of the ordinary schus, and then even then would have been,
I don't know what it's
because there's a time, there's a regular time, there's many levels in Zachul.
time is it going to be
Right. So in the Achishana, in the Zachul itself, that explains another basis. It's not like Zachul and Lo Zachul. There's many levels of Zachul. There's many levels. I have a whole pilpul about this. I don't know if it fits in now to explain the whole thing, but you see it very clearly that it's not. And actually, the Mittel Rebbe has a whole mimer that he told to Rabbi Kiva Eiger. They met, Rabbi Kiva Eiger and the Mittel Rebbe, and the Mittel Rebbe said a whole long. This is one of the longest mimer of the Mittel Rebbe. It's 100 and something oises. Usually a mimer of the Rebbe is 8 oisios, 10, 11, 12.
How many hours is that? Like 5 hours?
I don't know. The Mittel Rebbe would say my modim for standard for 10 hours and say a mimer. Because some mice even said for like 24 hours a mimer, and they're like davening in middle and this, and it was already too late. It was like a whole. He would say long whatever. So the name of the mimer is called Be'ita Achishana. And over there, the Mittel Rebbe goes and explains how there's in Zachul itself there's 10 dargis, and in Lo Zachul it's not like Zachul. There's many levels. If there's Zachul, the Tzaddikim are Zachul, the Beinanim are Zachul. Even the Eira Chaim says this. Depends who is the Zachul. If the Tzaddikim do something, if the Beinanim do something, if the Rashaim do tshuva, if this guy, it's very whatever. But so you're saying Shnei Allah from Yemei Mashiach. The way Rashi says is this is the time. That Mashiach, it's a normal thing for Mashiach to come more or less within these 2,000 years, and it's worthy. If it could maybe for some extra special schos. Okay, whatever.
The Tanoim and Amoraim gave dates, and it was not Kayam. None of those dates.
It was later. You're saying later dates, right? Okay, whatever. This is a general thing. You're saying if it could come before the 2,000 years, yes, but it would need to be something out of the ordinary, whatever. After the 2,000 years, I'm saying even if within these 2,000 years you need Zachul to make it happen in the beginning.
I think it's just the midrash, and that doesn't necessarily have to stem with
Pshat. You're saying the mamish.
the
There is such a thing. It could have been like if Adam Arishan wouldn't do Chait Eitzadas or whatever. It can be even Kemshute, but I'm just.
This guy would have sang Shir, so then you would have Mashiach.
Right, he would have been Mashiach, and Sanchev would have been Goygovogig, whatever.
What happened was, I think, as we serve Hashem or don't serve Hashem, so then the history folds a certain way. So therefore, what happened was, because he didn't become Mashiach, so therefore now there's this future reality that it's going to happen during the 2,000 years. Because it actually, the spirit and the Hashem and the Mashiach was even earlier.
Right, yeah, that's the Ruach HaLekim. But here, okay, whatever. The way Rashi is learning is that the way Rashi is learning, if I remember correctly, that it's a time that Moshiach is expected to come, and he's worth.
That is only Chaim or created after we missed an opportunity.
Yeah.
You can't say Lechachil, that was the time.
No, before that wouldn't be the time. Oh, that's what I'm saying. Only if it's an extra Zachul, it would have been before the 2,000 years.
It's only, I don't agree with you. I'll tell you why. Because you have to look at the Jewish history from the beginning till the history. So it's only, you were a Roy, and it could have happened in Haskell, and it wouldn't have been extra. You're only saying that now that you have this later period of time of 2,000 years. So looking back, it could have happened if it was extra. But I think that's reverse thinking.
I know. I think Lechatchila was. I would say it's Be'ita. The Eibishter to begin with.
Say those 2,000 years.
Be'ita. When did the I'm saying when did the Eibishter?
Are those 2,000 years Chachila? No.
That's the way the Eibishter created the world. It says Shitz Alfei Shenin Haviyam. Shnei Alofim Toyu. Shnei Alofim Teira. Shnei Alofim Yemei Mashiach. It's not that the Eibishter decided later on to make it Shnei Alofim Yemei Mashiach later on. The Eibishter made it to begin with in such an order. He made it Shnei Alofim Toyu, Shnei Alofim Toira. The Eibishter had organizing.
When does 2,000 years begin?
At the year, if you go to 4, after the 4,000, after from the 5 and on, 5 and 6. That's I'm saying that's much the pshat in the Gemara. Okay, whatever. That's a Maimon Muskir. Let's just okay.
So that midrash was written,
This is in the Gemara. The Gemara says this, but it's not like I don't think Rabbi Katina was machadish this. He's saying the way the Eibishter created the world. Okay, whatever. This is a side.
It says if you had a special.
It says Bikesh Hakadosh Baruch Hu. It says Bikesh. I'm just the lashon of the Gemara is Bikesh Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Lasis Chizkiah Mashiach. V'Sancheriv Gog Magog. He doesn't say that Chizki wasn't Mashiach. He wasn't Mashiach. Sancheriv was Gog Magog.
If he would have sung Shira, it would be Mashiach.
But
It doesn't say because
no, it says BK. The lashon of the Gemara is BK Shakadish Baruch Hu La Asois Chizkiyahu Mashiach. He wasn't Mashiach, and the Eibishter asked to turn him and make him into Mashiach. He wanted to turn Sancheriv into Gog Magog. So the Midas Adin came and said Chizkiyahu Shnitzel Mitzvah Sancheriv and Nisrapim Mecholiyeh V'lo Mashiach Lefanachat Asel Mashiach. He was saved from his enemies and he was saved from his illness. And he didn't think, sure, you want to make him Mashiach. So therefore, he didn't become. But it would be a chiddush to make him. It says it doesn't say that Sancheriv was Mashiach. It says Bikei Shakadish Baruch Hu La'asos Chizkiyahu Mashiach. The Eibishter wanted to turn him into Mashiach. That means that's not the normal. And what Daniel says that the Eibishter set up a case to begin with, and there's a be'ita, there's a time. It's clear that that's not the Eibishter set up the world in a specific order. The Eibishter made the world in a specific way, and in order to change this, it says you need Zachu Achishena.
It's mashma that wasn't based if he were a warrior or not. It was mashma based on him. And if he would have sang Shira, he would have brought Mashiach.
Okay, but that itself is a certain level of Zachu. He needed to do something. He needed to sing Shira. It wasn't just nothing.
To say that is something more special.
But Lachair, it's Pashtam.
To say that that's more special than what will happen in 2,000 years later.
I'm just saying it's Pashtam Pshat in the Gemara that Zachu Achishena. And it's Pshat in Pshat. It says if Zachu, if they didn't deserve it.
Sanhedrin says that if we merit it, it'll be nicer and it'll be earlier.
Right.
If we don't, then it'll be late.
It will be in its time. Be'ita. What does Be'ita mean?
Which is going to be after.
What does Be'ita mean? It means there's a specific time the Eibishter set up to begin with, that's when Mashiach is going to come. The Eibishter made a case. Before its time, fast. Chish means before the time. If Zachu, if they didn't deserve it, they're worthy, so they'll get it extra earlier. So for sure, if it's so, in the time frame of Shnei Alafim, Yemaisa Mashiach, Allah is Kama Vakama.
Any bito with bito?
What? If the
any level of zocha with the
Pashta Pshat in the Gemara, it says, Afilu Ein Eisim Yisrael Tshuva Nigolim. That's all Machlokes of Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yeshua. But even if they're not Zochel,
it's not extra special. It's just that if you're zocha, it'll be earlier. If you're not zocha,
it'll be later. So I'm saying the way they explain it in the Zochel itself, there's many levels. The Mittel Rebbe, the Rebbe, and Bechlal Mefarshim also. Not only the Rebbeim. That there's levels in Zochel, and the Rebbe Mittel Rebbe brings it out in the Gemara. There's a whole machlokes. This that if lo Zochel Nigolim, even if
is that only Achishena, it's also levels.
No, so now in when it says it, there's a machlokes that Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Elazar says Yisrael lo Yisim Tshuva Nigolim. Rabbi Yeshua says Im Lav Ein Nigolim. If they don't deserve it, they won't be Nigolim. And then there's a whole machlokes that even if, what does it mean if they don't do tshuva, they're going to be redeemed? Does it mean they're going to be redeemed even if they do nothing? Or it says, Ma'amid HaKadosh Baruch Hu LaMelech Kosher Kahaman, and Evu Machzirim Lemutav. There's a whole.
The Radak says that Hashem will make them bring His hand to make them do tshuva.
The Etzbeir Alayich Yedich. There's a whole thing of it. The whole machlokes in the Gemara. But whatever it is, the simple meaning is that you need to get something before the time the Eibishter said it. You need to deserve it. You need to work. You need to do something. That's just going to happen. She needs Zochel. In Zochel itself, there's different levels. The Eir HaChaim says this clearly in Parshas Balak that if the tzaddikim are going to do tshuva, they're going to do whatever that means, and it says it also in the Kunei Zoyar. They're not going to do the tzaddik. Are going to do tshuva. They're going to bring the geula right away in their doir, in their time. Okay, listen, we already got off. Or already continued this in the Kudah. I always had a question in that Rambam. The Rambam says you shouldn't need to think Malach HaMashiach need to make signs and wonders and whatever. The world is going to be running without any miracles. So the way the Rebbe explains it,
what's the question?
There's no question. I'm just saying the Rambam says the way the Gul is going to come is going to be b'derech hateva, without miracles. So the Rebbe many times over explains in the Sefer. So what does it mean the Gula will come without any miracles? This means the Rambam is taking on the shitta of Lo Zachu. That if the Geula comes in a way of Lo Zachu. And therefore, he's going to come.
So it'll be earlier and it'll be miraculous.
No. So now my question is, right, the Gemara says, now the question is, that Rambam says there's a chiyuv to be mechakel b'yaseh, to wait for Moshiach. Which means, every given day, a year needs to wait for Moshiach to come. Always, you have to wait. And this is not only, so now a guy is waiting, he's waiting for Moshiach to come. He's anticipating, but he has to expect. There needs to be what is he? He needs to wait for Moshiach to come now. That's the point. My point. Not wait for Moshiach to come. Who knows when? Then that's not the waiting. You're waiting for him to come now. Now the Rambam says the Geula is going to come with derech hateva. So he's waiting for the Geula to come now, which maybe is Achi Shana. You're waiting for it to come now. You're not waiting in its time. You're waiting for it to come now. But you're waiting on that way that Rambam says the Geula is a way of Lo Zachu. So how does these two things fit together?
Well, it could still happen al pi teva now.
But this that it's coming al pi teva now, it's only for Lo Zachu. This that the Geula is going to come. It's like you're saying you have to wait for Mashiach to come. But now, how do you have such a thing? How do you have the Geula coming now?
What's the story? You're still waiting.
You're waiting for Mashiach.
He could ride the donkey any day.
He can ride the donkey. If he's coming now, okay, listen. The way the Gemara learns, the Gemara says and it says
By the way, the Sforno learns that means he's coming with humility.
Yes, I know.
Even though there's a possibility,
like a onav, right?
Daniel from the clouds. So some say it's a steer. No, he is both. You have the power of the angels behind him. At the same time, it's all in one person.
Right. Right. Yes, but here in the Gemara, Pashta Pshat in the Gemara, not only there's a porno.
Gemara is no if one way or the other.
The Gemara asks a question in Sanhedrin. Right. I'm saying according to the Gemara, he says he can be coming on like a poor man riding on a donkey, or Oru Manan Ishmael come flying on clouds.
Depends on that.
So the Gemara asks, how is he going to come? So the Gemara answers, Zachu on Manan Ishmael, Zachu kani v'reicha v'alachamir. If we deserve it, it's going to come on clouds of heaven. We don't deserve it, it's going to be like a poor man riding on a donkey. So what does that mean? We deserve it. How is he coming? On clouds. We don't deserve it on a donkey. Then the Gemara continues. It says Be'ita is going to come in its time, whatever the time is. The Gemara says also Achishana is going to come before the time.
It's all from the same person Yishai.
Yeah. It says Be'ita Achishana. How can it be in its time and fast? So the Gemara answers the same answer. Lo Zachu Be'ita. Zachu Achishana. They don't deserve it. It's going to be in its time. They deserve it. It's going to become before its time. Now, if you analyze correctly the Gemara over here, there's two inyanim over here. There is the way the Geula is going to come, the Oifen HaGeula, and then there is the Zman HaGeula, the way the Geula is going to take place. And the Cha'ira, they both go together. Right. So if you say Lo Zachu, so which way it's going to be? It's going to be in its time, whenever the time is, on a donkey. If it's going to be Zachu, it's going to be before its time on Ishmael. So this is my question. How could you tell a guy to anticipate every day to come now, which could be that now, if you're waiting for it to come now, right now, and this is that Rambam wrote this 800 years ago. The Rambam saying this is Ba'etzem Yosoid. It said that Rambam was a Machadish, this Chiyuv to be Machakel from Mashiach. It's a Chiyuv Ba'etzem from the Torah to way that Rambam is saying that the Torah is Ba'etzem. The Rambam is from the Talmid Chacham, before they learned the Rambam, they already were Machakel B'yasi. The Rambam just writing it down, bringing it down on paper. They're always waiting for Moshiach.
You don't know the case.
So now the question is, you don't know what the case is.
You're hoping.
Now the question is, are you waiting for the Geula? But the Rambam tells you, so if you're saying that you're waiting, maybe now is the Be'ita.
Yeah.
If you're waiting for the Geula to come, you're waiting.
I'm anticipating the Be'ita to be today. If not today, tomorrow.
But what could
either way, the Ita or Akshana, it doesn't matter. You're still waiting for the Geula.
You're waiting for the Geula, but the way that Rambam is being metar the Geula, he's being metar the Geula in a way of Lo Zachu. The order is Lo Zachu, and it could be that the time is Zachu. You're waiting for the.
But even when it says
My point is like this.
later or in its time, there's still possibilities within that later period that it could come earlier or later. It's not. You know what I'm saying? That's why the Chachamim gave different dates. Because if we're Roy, there's still an element of Roy even in this period.
The simple pshat of Beita means that there's one date, and they didn't figure out when's the date. They didn't figure out when's the Beita exactly.
Yaakov Avinu, the Shechina.
They want to figure out when is this date, and there's different opinion when's this date. When's
Can that date change based upon our behavior?
No, it cannot. There's a date. The date doesn't change. The Eibishter set a date. Now, you're telling me...
It would be only Achishena, but once you're after Achishena...
I have a different question. Rabbi Akiva, the Rambam says Rabbi Akiva said on Ben Kuziba that he's Malach HaMashiach.
Right.
So Rabbi Akiva held that then was Be'ita, or he held that then was Achishena?
That's a good question.
He's holding that it's before the time. It could be that this is... It could be... Okay, this is the way I'm going to learn it. Maybe I'm wrong, but let me just...
I think that it's close to the border of 2000 period.
That was 70 years after the Churban.
Right, so that's around the time of the last 2000 years.
Okay, but at the end of the day, but it's not... The point I'm just trying to say like this, and I'll bring the sources maybe a little bit soon. You see that they waited for the Gula to come before its time. You wait. You have a chiv to wait for Moshiach, which is l'cha'oira achishena. Let's just accept it like this. L'cha'oira, you're telling a guy to always wait for Moshiach, and Rabbi Akiva waited for Moshiach, and they're waiting. 1950 years ago around.
Right. So the year 6000 is like in other words, it's not too much more than 2000 years.
Is it before 2000 years?
You have I believe you're learning. It's like an era. It doesn't have to be to the year.
No, but it's not. I don't even know if it has to do with the 2000 years. Doesn't mean that the whole 2000 years is Be'ita. Doesn't mean that. The Be'ita means there's a time for the Gula to come. And l'cha'oira, it's later on, let's say. And you're waiting.
Can't be much later.
I'm just saying, but when Rabbi Akiva was waiting, it wasn't the Be'ita. It wasn't the
5784. Yeah.
It wasn't the time. It wasn't the time.
So when I said 5800 would be the beginning of 2000. So it was mamish close.
But it was before. Okay, so it was before, and he was waiting for which way is the Gula going to come. Just want to say this point. Which oifen? He said Rabbi Akiva. He said B'derech HaTeva. He was waiting the Gula to come. Rabbi Akiva. He said that Ben Kaziba. This is the whole proof that Rambam brings a Mashiach doesn't perform miracles. Is from this that Rabbi Akiva said Ben Kaziba was Mashiach, and he didn't ask him to make any miracles. He didn't prove that he's Mashiach through making any miracles.
Okay.
Which means, so in that it's Achishana, but only Varecha Valachamayr. That's my point. It's Achishana, it's before the time, but the way the Gula is coming is B'derech HaTeva. And the Rambam is telling someone there's a chiv to wait always, okay, all the time. What does it mean? Let me ask you a different question like this. What's
if bias? We already said the Mashiach can come in every generation.
If they're going to be Zoicha.
You can't say that.
What does it? Just 1 second.
Achishena. It's already in the period of Be'ito.
It says Im
Yizkul. We already
Yizkul.
lost the temples. You can't learn.
The Lashon is but it says Im Yizkul. B'chol day neil da'achad mizara Yehuda shirei lis Mashiach. Be'im Yizkul.
So there's a certain element of merit even in the Be'ito span.
That's not Be'ita. Be'ita doesn't mean 100 years. Be'ita means the date.
It's a hard, fast date.
There's a date. There's the time. If you're going to be Zachor, it's going to come before the time. So here you're telling someone to always wait for the Gula to come, which is l'cha'oire, before the Be'ita. You're telling a guy to wait every single day for Mashiach to come. So what's if a guy's going to say, you know what, make it very simple. A guy's going to say the Gula is going to come whenever it is. Let's say the times of Rabbi Akiva. Okay, let's say Rabbi Akiva is saying he's Melech HaMashiach.
Since you don't know, you could wait. That's why Yaakov Avinu wasn't revealed to give to his children, because they were going to lose hope, because they're going to be in the future. So since you don't know, so you're diving that the Beito should be today.
You're not saying that you're not l'cha'ira. You're davening. You're not exactly. You're davening for Achishena. That's my point. You're davening for Achishena. You're davening for it to come now, whether it's the time or not. You're not asking Hashem, make this the Be'ita.
You, because the Rambam is much later than that.
Much later than what?
He's definitely in the period of time of the Yemos Mashiach, the last 2,000 years, which is a time period of...
Well, Mashiach could come. Mashiach could come then.
Be within that 2,000 years.
Okay.
Right? So, but the Rambam himself says that you should anticipate for it. So there is an anticipation, even though it's in that period of time.
But who says that it's...
Rambam's not talking Achishena. You're already past Achishena. You're going to tell me there's Achishena within the last 2,000 years? You got to go working on it. I got to work on it.
But what do you see? You see, at the end of the day, let's say when they waited in the beginning, Mashiach didn't come then. So it wasn't the Be'ita. If they waited the goal to come, then it is Achishena.
Say it again?
You see, now we're holding Tavshin Pei Dalit. So when they waited in the times of Rabbi Akiva or whatever, that was Achishena. If the goal didn't come then, that shows that it wasn't the Be'ita. The Be'ita wasn't then. At the end of the day, you see the otherwise. You see backwards that it wasn't Achishena. It would be Achishena. It doesn't mean that because any time. How do you know that now the days now? How do you know today's Be'ita? Maybe it's Be'ita, maybe it's not Be'ita. So you're davening for sure. If you're davening for Mashiach to come now, you're davening, let him come Achishena, even if it's before the Be'ita.
Why can't you learn that Achishena is whatever that Be'ita was? I'm pushing up the date. So even whether,
but that's not what that's called Achishena. To push up the date means Achishena.
Right.
But you're not changing the date. There's the original date, that there's the Be'ita, and then there's Achishena. You're asking the Eibishter instead.
Who says that date is fixed?
That's the meaning of Be'ita. What does it mean, Be'ita?
In its time.
It has a time. And what does Achishena mean? Before that time. So you're davening. If Zachu, you're saying there's three things. There's Achishena, there's moving up the Be'ita, and then there's Be'ita. But where do you see three things? You don't see in the Gemara there's three things. You see, there's two things. There's Achishena. Why do you need to say that there's what's big Machriach?
Why can't it have a time? And then based upon a behavior, that time is either
I have a question. That later for sure can be, because if it has it's nothing to do with it. The Eibishter set a time. I don't understand what's the hechrich to say that there's two separate things. There's Be'ita, there's Achishena, and you're saying there's something else. Based on the behavior, the Achishena you're making it come before the time.
Achishena is moving the Ita closer. It's the same thing.
It's not the same thing. Achishena, Be'ita means there's a set time.
Yeah.
Achishena means you're making it come before that set time.
Right.
So, but it's still not changing that there's a set time for it to come. You're making it come before that set time.
Right.
If the Yidden deserve it, it's going to become...
Mekarevis, that's a good one.
Mekarevis, you're Mekarev, the idea of the Geula.
Right.
The Beis HaMikdash, Kibbutz goes. By that time, they just set up.
Right.
So
if the Yidden are going to be Zaycho, it's going to be before that. But it's not that you're changing that date or whatever. That's something else. That's the whole thing. Zaycho Achishena. That's my point is, whatever, to make a long story short, we'll analyze this a little bit more soon. In the end of the day, even in the time of Rabbi Akiva, is before the 2,000 years, for Shlekul Alma. Okay? And he said that he was...
I don't agree. I'll tell you why. Because there has to be a reign of Mashiach.
What?
He has to be a reign of Mashiach. He can't come at the year 6,000. In fact, there's a Zohar that says it's going to be either 210 years later, 214 years.
Yeah.
So if you take that, knock off 200-something years at the end, so then Rabbi Akiva is within that period.
No, but that Shnei Alafim, the Pashta Pshat that Gemara means 2. It's not 2, 9, then if you're making it earlier, then it's not Shnei Alafim Tayu.
The end point of the 2 maybe is before 6,000.
Okay, but it's still Shnei Alafim Tayu. You're saying that then it's not Shnei Alafim, the Shnei Alafim Tayu and Shnei Alafim Yemei Mashiach is getting mixed up from that cheshbon of the 2,000 years. There's 2.
If you break 2 and 6, then
the way the Gemara says it, yeah.
But my thinking is, I don't think you have to be exact to the year over here. That's what I...
But I'm just saying, if the Gemara says 2, and even if it's in the 2,000 years, it doesn't say that anywhere in there is Be'ita.
I read that not every other source in the Torah agrees with that. There are different views.
In the Gemara, the Machloikis over there is if it's Shnei Charuv after the Shnei Alafim Yemei Mashiach, Chad Charuv, Trei Charuv, whatever. But in this order, it doesn't look like there's any Machloikis. in the way Shis Alfi Shni to have Alma, doesn't look like there's a
So you
machlokes.
have another midrash that says after the Churban already, the Mashiach can be born.
Say that.
Right.
But that's Zochel. That's Zochel. That's not Shnei Alafim Meisa Mashiach.
I think you already.
The way Rashi.
How can you have a matzav of Zochel when we were so not Zochel that we lost the temple and then all of a sudden it becomes Zochel?
Tshuva.
If you never know, if they didn't do tshuva, ain't davar even b'fnei tshuva. Ilu yisrael leisim tshuva miyad hein golem. The Rambam says. In a Harabi, but
we're still in Golus because we have.
but there needs to be an shorius, at least possibility for Mashiach to come. What's if they're not Zochel? There's no one that can bring the Gula now. There's no Mashiach in the world.
Said, which we don't pass him like.
Right, but
he said we already.
Yeah, but there needs to be a possibility for Mashiach to come. This is the way everyone learns. Right. A possibility, at least, doesn't mean that you need if the Yidden are Zochel, so there needs to be someone. Or
the redemption. See, that's another.
That's Hillel's opinion. But like the Rambam clearly learns, you have to believe that the Gula is going to come through Malach HaMashiach. That's the emphasis of the Rambam. You have to believe.
How does the Mittler Rebbe answer up? How can I anticipate if it's?
So the Nakuda is the way the Mittler Rebbe says over there. What I'm trying to bring out over here from the Eira Chaim HaKadosh is in Zochel itself. He says there's two ways of Zochel. The Zochel of Tzadikim and the Zochel of Beinanim. If the Tzadikim are going to be Zoche and they're going to bring Mashiach before its time, the Gula is going to come before its time, but it's going to be B'derech HaTeva. In Zman, it's going to be before. Let's in the times of Rabbi Akiva, that's the point I'm trying to say. In the Zman of Rabbi Akiva, he said Ben Kaziba was Mashiach. So it's before the time. Let's say it's Achishena, or you're telling a guy to wait for Mashiach to come every day. And let's say a guy is going to tell you, look, the world is not Zochel. So how could you wait for Mashiach to come now? Mashiach, the world is not worthy. You need to wait for the Be'ita, when then the Gula is going to come. Or later on, whatever. How could you wait for it to...
you call out.
So if Zochel... So what did Rabbi Chaim HaKadosh explain? That doesn't make a difference when, even if it's before the Be'ita. Right. And even it's Achishena, right. Tzadikim have the koyach. It says in Tikkun Zoyar, if one tzaddik is going to do tshuva shleima, Mashiach would come in his generation.
The Rambam's talking to him.
Or the Rambam says, Yisrael leisim tshuva miyad in the Golem. The Rambam says also mitzvah achas. If a guy does one mitzvah and he could be that this is the mitzvah, the Eibusha decides or one, let's say the way the Zoyar says, or the Rambam. One guy is going to do tshuva, he's going to do some extra davening, or you see these stories that with Rabbi Yosef de la Reina.
The guy with the bread and the iron.
Rabbi Yosef de la Reina, or the Chayzim of Lublin. The stories of certain tzaddikim that they wanted to force Mashiach to come. So is the world Zoiche? Is it Zochel? No. Is they say even with the Baba Sal, he wanted to come. There's a letter Nicholas Kodesh. He wanted to meet
connected to our Amisros.
In the Chanavi, but it's still in the end of the day. It's not that Zochel. It's this guy did his pula. So the Eira Chaim says if a tzaddik is going to bring Mashiach in this way, so the goal is going to come then. And let's say Rabbi Yosef de la Rein or the Chayzim of Lublin would be Matzlech to bring the goal in their time. So the goal would have taka come then. Right. But what would happen? The Gula would come then, but it would be in a way of B'derech HaTeva. This is what the Eira Chaim says. The Gula would come before the time because they forced it. But because the world wasn't Zoiche, so the order that it's going to be, but Nisim, it's going to be without Nisim. If Zochel, if Klal Yisrael are Zoiche, then it's going to come before the time in a miraculous way. So my point is, there's a possibility for the Gula to come before the time, but Derech HaTeva. So I'm saying maybe you could say learn in the Rambam. The Rambam is saying you always need. There's no Agbal in Zman over here according to the Rambam. And it's not maybe it's Be'ita, maybe this, because B'Poel Mamish. It's not a playing game over here at the Rambam. Like the Rambam is let's say for sure the order. You know that the Be'ita is whatever it is, and this is before the Be'ita. Nevertheless, the Rambam is telling you to wait for Mashiach to come today. But how is it possible? So I'm saying maybe you could learn in such a way that it could be that it's going to come before its time through tzaddikim doing it, and especially the way the Rambam learns it over here. he says, Yaakov Kol Yisrael Leilach Balachazik Bit Moshiach is going to need to force all the Yidden to go in the ways of Torah. And this could be Ula Yeshloimar, Lahavdil, or whatever. But if you look in the Gemara, according to the Shitta, that even if Ein Yisrael Oisim Tshuva Nigolin, which that's considered Lo Yizachu to a certain extent, the way the Gemara learns that part of that is included HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ma'amid Lahem Melech, that makes them do Tshuva. So there the Gemara says Melech Kashik Haman Chas V'Shalom, that's going to force them to do Tshuva. But you can say that Lahavdil, like in the good way, that you need Malach HaMashiach, but the Lashon of the Rambam is Yaakov Kol Yisrael Leilach.
Well, the force is you're going to see calamities happen, and then they're going to get scared, and they're going to do tshuva.
Right, that's right. Right, but he says the Melech is going to make them right. Yeah, right. But here the Rambam is saying.
Look at Isaiah 59:20, where we say of all Tzion, right? Go something pesha.
But he says,
the Goel is going to turn.
Make them do tshuva.
Right, that's one way to learn. The other learns, no, he's coming to save those who are doing tshuva.
Or through the tshuva, right. To free the Kinnah has a whole mimer of all it's in Goel.
We're talking learning that both are true, but the Maisa, there'll be a tshuva. Either it'll come from us, or it'll be Hashem will
make them do tshuva. But at the end of the day, when it's the Eibishter making them do the tshuva, it's still not considered their tshuva completely.
You should know though that we have this is a machlokus. The Christians say in their book they mistranslate the pasuk, and they say that the Redeemer or the Messiah is turning them from ungodliness as he's doing it. And our general pshat is that we still have to do it, whether we'll have a from Hashem or not. That's the machlokus. But it has to be done through us. We're bringing Moshiach. It's not like he's going to change us if this outside force. It has to come from us.
Yeah, okay, interesting.
Only us, or Hashem will give us a push.
Okay, but the way I'm learning over here, interesting.
Yeah.
But what I'm learning in here is that Rambam says Yaakov Kol Yisrael. He's going to force them, and the Rebbe has somewhere over here. The Rebbe is medayik from the Rambam.
About korach like that.
Okay, so what does Yaakov mean? We'll Be'ezrat Hashem, when we get to it, we'll explain exactly the way the Rebbe learns with Yaakov. What does it mean? He forces or he doesn't force. But the way you're learning Rambam Bashat Pshat, what does Yaakov mean? The guy doesn't want, and you're forcing. Either he's forcing the guy Kipshuto.
The guy doesn't want to give a get.
And either you're forcing him Kipshuto, or in a different way of Koifazain. Even if you're Koifim and whatever it is, but at the end of the day, it looks like.
Well, it's for sure. He's going with the Achishen.
So this is what I'm saying. Bito. Very good. This is my point. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's becoming before this man.
Why does Rabbi Kiva maybe?
Okay, but I'm just saying. Let's say.
Rambam surely is after.
Let's say.
Rambam has to be that it can't be before this month. Unless if you're going to learn that within that 2,000-year span, there's a date, and anything before the date is before this month. That's
l'choyre parshat pshat in the Gemara. So I'm saying that Rambam is saying you need to believe that it's going to come. You need to believe that it's going to come. In what way? Let's say you need to believe that it's going to come now. You need to be machak to the come now. But the Rambam is clearly writing in what way are you waiting for it to come now? In a way of derech hateva.
I think why can't we learn just simply that even though it's going to be a future date, we can't say, I don't have to worry about it because it's in the future. That's what the Rambam's teaching you. That not to believe like that. You have to have like the Chafetz Chaim had a
to wait for it to come now with derech hateva, and maybe now is the be'ita, or maybe now is the achishena. What are you waiting for?
See, I think you're getting too fixed on Bito Achishena.
But that's my point. I want to be Mada. This is exactly what I want to analyze. What are you waiting for it to come now? Are you waiting for Achishena, or are you waiting for the Be'ita? Are you waiting when you're saying, I want Mashiach, you want Mashiach to come now? Is now before the time, or now is the...
that the Rambam is only talking Bito.
So that's what I'm saying. The Rambam is not talking about Be'ito. The Rambam is talking about On Yivarecha V'alach HaMoed. The Rambam is not talking about Be'ita. Because it could be before the time, it could be before the time, but the way, that's what I'm saying, in the Gemara, it's clear that there's two inyonim, that it says Zoch Wachesh. It doesn't say in one shot. It says there's Ani Varecha V'alach HaMoed, Imanan Ishmaya. Zochu It doesn't say
each match up with the other one.
could, maybe, yeah, maybe not. That's what I'm saying. With the way the Oida Chaim explains, and it's Befedish. What do you see? You know what? Let's analyze the story of Rav Yosef de Laraina. Rav Yosef de Laraina was a big Makubal, a great tzaddik. Okay, he Befedish wanted to bring the Geula before the time. Also the Chayzim of the Blin. It wasn't the time for Moshiach. It wasn't the Be'ita. It was not the Be'ita for sure. 100% it wasn't Be'ita. And he wanted to bring it before the time. And he wanted to force the Eibishter to bring the Geula before the time. It's Achishena. Now, let's say you would be Matzliach to bring the Geula then before the time. In what way would the Geula come? In what oifen would the Geula come? Would the Geula come Imanane Shmaya? Or the Geula would come Ka'ani Varech Valachamay?
Why are you saying it has to be Teva?
So because it is Loi Zochu from Klal Yisrael, it's Zochu who's forcing the Geula to come. It's only the Tzaddikim. Therefore, it's coming in a way of Maderech HaTeva. And this is what Dorach Chaim says. Dorach Chaim says, Dorach Koichov.
Why can't the tzaddik bring a miracle for Am Yisrael?
So I'll tell you, the way Dorach Chaim says, it says Dorach Koichov, because it can be Am Yisrael doesn't deserve it. Okay, you can say anything can happen.
But we see a lot of times in our history, different tzaddikim, miracles happened, and you could say that the door wasn't zochah, but the din of the door can be based on the tzaddik.
Not necessarily. It's not if the door.
Again, this is a pshat.
But I'm saying with the door. But if the door,
the Dorach Chaim may learn a certain way, but you can't necessarily say that fits into the hashkaf of Kol Deis in the Torah. You know what I'm saying?
Why should everyone get to Geula in a way? The Gemara says Loi Zachu.
I'll tell you.
The Gemara says Loi Zachu.
That's why.
But it says Loi. It says Loi Zachu. If the Yidden are not Zoicha, it's Ani Varecha Valachamoir. The world is not Zoicha. It's this specific guy doing something. Lo Zochu. Even though Arevim Zelazeh and everyone's connected and whatever, at the end of the day, it's Lo Zochu. It's one guy doing it.
That's Bito.
That's not Be'ita. This is all. It could be that. It's not only the Zman. It's also Lo Zochu Ani Varecha Valachamoir. The Gemara says not only Lo Zochu Be'ita. Lo Zochu Ani Varecha Valachamoir. So it could be.
You have two separate questions and with two separate answers. The first question is Bito Achishen, and the second one is Chomor.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It's two separate in Yonim. It's the Gemara doesn't say.
You have to look at them before.
The Gemara doesn't say. The Gemara doesn't say Beito Achishano. Ani Varecha Valachamoid. Imanane Shema. The Gemara gives one answer.
That's the second question.
There's Beito Achishano. The Gemara answers Zachu Lo Zachu. Another question. Again, Zachu Lo Zachu.
So what we're doing is the second question is we're trying to resolve a apparent steer in the psukim.
Exactly, both of them. But but they're two separate in Yonim. The Gemara, if it's the same answer for both of them, and you're saying it's one thing, so the Gemara could have put it in one shot and just say it says this, it says this, it says this, it says this. I give one answer for both, but the Gemara because it's the same answer at the end of the day.
So the Gemara first said Bito Achishan,
and it gives an answer Zachu Achishan Eloi Zachu Bito Nachashayla Varami Nachashayla Ani Varecha Valachamoir Imanane Shmai. The Gemara gives another answer Zachu Imanane Shmai Zachu Ani Varecha Valachamoir.
Right. So
the Eibishter works a bit the Keneged Mida. If you deserve it, you get it in a higher way. This is much the pshat in Gemara. If Zachu, you get it. Imanane Shmai. Lo Zachu is Ani Varecha Valachamoir. So at the end of the day, this one tzaddik is bringing the Geula for the world because he did something extra special. So the Geula is coming.
But this is the way you're learning the Rambam that it's going to be Alpi Teva. Right? Not everyone learns like the Ramban. Like I don't think the Ramban. You have to look it up.
Okay, well now we're learning according to the Rambam.
Okay.
Now we're learning according to the Rambam, which is the halacha perspective. A guy wants to know how to do something. A guy can't just open up a Ramban and this and that. There's Shulchan Aruch.
The thing is, though, this is Inyane Hagarata.
But
we'll say that this is.
No one can say that. The Rambam is a sefer halachis from Hilchas Yisrael Teira Perek Aleph Halacha Aleph to Hilchas Malachim Perek Yud Beis Halacha Hey. The whole Rambam is one halacha sefer. A guy can turn. So this from the beginning till the end it's halacha.
Yeah, but you're saying because he brings it down and it's supposed to be halacha sefer. therefore reality has to do the way he paskins that. That's true. That's not a glatt way to learn.
Why?
Because
If the Rambam is a sefer halachis, so it's halachis. It's halachis. How could something be?
Different halachas come out from different shitas. That's not.
But the Rambam knew all the shittas. You need to be someone strong. Who could be choilik on the Rambam? Who has the Torah authority to change, to go against the Rambam? It needs to be who?
The Rosh, the Rif.
But they don't go against him in this.
The Rav for sure does in many cases.
But in this case,
even la halacha.
But I'm saying, but in this,
say it's halacha, therefore it has to.
But I'm saying, but in this case,
said no.
But in this case,
Like give an example.
I'm just saying, in this case of Moshiach, they're not choilik. The Beis Yosef that he wrote the Shulchan Aruch, he's the Pirish of the Kesef Mishnah. He's masking with the Rambam in these halachas. He's not choilik on the Rambam at all in these two prakim. The Ravid also. The only thing is choilik on the Rambam. The only thing is the Rambam says Mashiach doesn't need to make oisis or maivsim. So only on this. On halacha aleph he doesn't say nothing. Halacha beis he doesn't say anything. Halacha Dalit he doesn't say anything. In Perikut Beis, halacha Beis Gimel Dalit he doesn't say anything. The only thing is in Perikut Aleph halacha Gimel and in Perikut Beis halacha Aleph. In these two halachas, or in the halachas, both of them the Rambam says the same thing. Perikut Aleph halacha Gimel the Rambam says Al Yal Al Daitcha Shamelach HaMashiach Tzorich Lasis Oisus U'Meivsim. So on this specific thing, and not on halacha aleph, not on halacha beis, not on anything else of Mashiach, the order he says, V'aloi Rabbi Akiva Oimer al Bar Kozi, I'm sorry, V'aloi Chachamim Shalchu Livdek Yimerich V'Dayin V'Keimen Eloi Avid Hachi Katluhu. The only thing the Ravid brings what it says in Sanhedrin Daf Tzadik Gimel, that the Chachamim sent to Ben Kaziba to see if he's Moirich V'Dayin. Once they saw that he wasn't Moirich V'Dayin, they killed him.
Because of his sins, he got killed. That's cool.
That's the way the Rambam learns. But the way the Ravid learns that this is the only hasaga of the Ravid in the whole Perikut Aleph is on this specific detail that he says that he didn't make oisus. They didn't ask him to shalom imanu chachamim la'itz v'lei meifis. So the Rambam says, what do you mean shalom imanu chachamim la'itz v'lei meifis? So we see it says in Gemara Tzadik Gimel Sanhedrin that they went to check to see if he was Moirich V'Dayin, and because he wasn't Moirich V'Dayin, they killed him. This is
also he was supposed to
the Moirich V'Dayin. That's what it means. Moirich, he smells V'Dayin and he judges from his smell. Right. So that is the only hasaga of the Ravid.
We see there, Chachamim held that the Mashiach
doesn't need to make oisus and maivsim. So I'm saying in this specific detail, that's the only hasaga of the Ravid on the Rambam, but not in anything else in this parak. And so too in Perikut Beis, he's not choilik on the Rambam at all. In anything else, he says the way the Gul is going to come.
Right,
everything.
But this,
the only detail.
But this is in the Inyan of Gemara.
Right.
So you have
So in this specific detail, there is the Ravid is choilik on the Rambam.
Right.
If he needs to make oisis survives. Okay, so the way the Rebbe explains it is that why is the Rambam saying it in this way? Is because the Rambam is taking on the opinion, because the Rambam is a saver of halachis. And in a saver of halachis, you need to write a dry halach, you need to write a minimum. And
it argues on that.
As I'm just saying, the Rambam is
this Indian, whether it be miracles or not, is that really a halachic Indian?
The question is if you have to demand.
Does it have halachic ramifications?
It does. Okay. For sure.
So that means you can't say that the Rambam is the Ravid also is.
I'm just saying, in this specific Nekude, in this Indian, there's a machlokes between the Rambam and the Ravid. And the way the Rebbe explains. So I'm just saying, the way the Rebbe is matavich. The way the Rebbe is matavich.
Rambam learns there's a goof in Olam Haba.
Right.
It will be with miracles.
Right. And the Ramban, I'm not sure.
I think so.
But in this specific detail, the Ravid is choilik on the Rambam. You see, the Rebbe says the Ravid asks, and the Rebbe explains it right away why it's not a stira, that the Rambam also admits that there's going to be miracles, but it's going to be later on in the Geula. Or the Rambam holds there's going to be miracles if Zachu.
Right, these things are not.
I'm just saying, if. That's what I'm saying. In Zachu and Lo Zachu, it's not that Rambam is choilik that Mashiach needs to make miracles. He's going to make miracles, but when? Later on. Verstehst? He's not going against the Ravid in this specific record. Also, in the next parak, that's the only thing that Ravid asks on the Rambam. Rambam says, "But God is Evim Kevis is a marshal for the goy man. The Yidden are going to live. The wolf will lie with the lamb is a marshal."
Who says it's marshal?
The Rambam.
And the Ravid?
And so on this thing, the Rambam says, the Ravid says, it says, "V'shbaite chayra min aretz."
You translate?
V'shbaite chayra min aretz. I'm going to take away. I'll take away the wild animals from the land.
Right.
Which means he holds that there will be kipshutai. So on this, the Radvaz, all the Mefarshim right away explain how, according to the Rambam, it's also going to be kipshutai that it's Yisrael. Where the Rebbe explains it is that the Rambam holds it's going to be kipshutai if Zachu, this pasuk, and even if lo Yisachu in the beginning of the Gula, but later on in the Gula, eventually they're going to be Zachu. After Moshiach comes, he's going to make the
But once
becomes
it's very clear that there'll be, like from the pasuk in Yirmiyahu, that in other words there won't be such a Yetzer Hara.
Yeah, but that's
you see Hashem, and it's very clear he will do.
So the question is
how will do miracles. It's from
how. The question is how is the Gula going to? No, so how is the Gula going to start off? There's for sure going to be miracles later on after the Gula starts to take place.
I think already.
If the Yidden,
I'm
just saying if the Yidden,
Gog and Magog will be even miraculous on some level.
The question is how it's starting off. The Gula starts off, but Derech HaTeva.
Like that was miraculous, right? With Cheskiel. So that's clearly.
Yeah.
So
that was then, but it's not. There's no hecharich.
It's very hard to learn this Indian like black and white. That's what that's what it seems.
There's no hecharich. There's nothing forcing that it's going to be miracles like Sarach Heidev. The Gemara says, "Lo yizachu ani v'reicha v'lachamor." They're not deserving it. He's going to come like a poor man riding on a donkey. Even if it comes in such a way, like a poor man riding on a donkey, because there's lo yizachu, how long will that last?
Since we're learning Rambam, you have to try everything to the Rambam. But not necessarily that's the halacha that's going to have to be. Like this Sforno from says both are happening together in one person at one time.
Who what?
The Sforno, I'm not trying.
So I'm saying
he says that
the way I'm
power of the angels behind him. At the same time, he'll have humility, but still can. In other words,
okay, but that's not la halacha.
More is not necessarily saying no miracles. That's what Sforno learns.
Okay, but that was a partner is not a poisik. The partner is not a poisik.
Yeah, but you can't look at the Rambam because he's talking about the Indian and he's the posik, and therefore. It's not the
Rambam knew all the Mefarshim. So what's if a guy's going to do in Hilchas Shabbos? A guy's going to take the same thing. You know, the Rashba says that Shabbos starts from Shabbos by day. Doesn't start from Shabbos night. From Shabbos morning, that's when Shabbos starts. Mm-hmm. So a guy's going to say, listen, I have a Rashba. It's not so simple. Like the way you're saying, the same way. A guy's going to say Shabbos starts from Shabbos by day. The guy's going to drive his car by Shabbos by night. He's going to pull out a Rashba.
We're talking if Hashem is going to make miracles. It's what Hashem
and okay, there's a Sifrei HaPoiskim, there's Sifrei HaPoiskim, and there's Sifrei HaMefarshim. It's clear, not only in this Indian of Moshiach, B'chalal.
I think you're making a huge error here. You can't say
I'm asking you.
Every word in the Rambam is halakha.
Okay,
no.
It is. It's a sefer.
He did make halakha.
You can't pick and choose. You can't say this is halacha and this is agadata. The Rambam is a book of halachas from the beginning till the end. There's no such a thing. So the guy's gonna take a shulchan aruch. What's the difference? What's the difference? I have your question. What's the difference?
What's the halakha if miracles or not?
What's the difference if you're gonna take a shulchan aruch and say some parts are halacha and some parts are agadata? It doesn't work like that. A shulchan aruch is halacha. Gemara, that's Gemara. That's not halacha. Shulchan Aruch is a book of halachas. Halachas is from the beginning till the end. It's halachas. You cannot take
Sefer Manda is telling you what
is halachas. It's halachas. It's called Hilchis Malachim Malacham Yisei Malach HaMashiach. It's halachas.
Okay, so what?
It's halacha.
So what's the halacha whether he makes miracles or not?
If you need so it's very simple. If you have to demand from Mashiach to make miracles or not, according to Chachamim, according to the other opinion, you cannot believe him that he's Mashiach if he's not going to make miracles. The Chachamim, Rabbi Akiva said, he's Malach HaMashiach, and he did not ask him to make miracles. So the Chachamim then in the Gemara, they said, you cannot believe that he's Malach HaMashiach. Why not? Because he did not do Meirach V'dain. So there's an Afkamin al-Halacha. So if a guy stands up.
It's halacha to believe in Mashiach. Is there a halacha to follow this one versus that one?
If a person stands up, and he does all the signs that Rambam says, So the Rambam says this guy is Mecheskes Mashiach. This guy is Mecheskes Mashiach. Another guy is going to say, wait a second. It's not so simple. I want to see if he's Moirich V'doin or not. I'm going to go test him.
That's what the Rabban
So
did.
that's not the way that Rambam wrote it. I'm telling you, that's enough kamina if he has to make miracles or not.
Is passing like Rabbi Akiva.
Exactly. He says
not the other Chachamim.
Exactly. He says Rabbi Akiva Chacham Gadol Machachem Al Mishnah Hoya. For who Hoya Eimer Allah
And they say back to him, you see, we were right, Rabbi Akiva. He wasn't Mashiach.
So in the end, wasn't his Gala Lamafreya that he wasn't Mashiach, but still the Rambam learns out.
Could he be? Maybe he could have been.
Could be, but the point of the Rambam is not if he was Mashiach or not. Who cares if he was Mashiach or not? The point is, what did Rabbi Akiva say? Rabbi Akiva said he was Melech HaMashiach without demanding him to make, but he wasn't choizer in his shitta. How was he able to make this mistake? Because he held this opinion. There's a certain geder. What is Mashiach going to do? He didn't go against this. Once he went against.
So it's a question of
so
reading
there,
the way he was matzliach against the Romans, right? So he thought that that he's Mashiach.
Right.
So it seems
he
there was
fit
a certain miraculous nature to what he was doing, or he was fulfilling psuchim. That
he was fulfilling the signs of Mashiach. The Rambam says, Yilcha Mechames Hashem, v'natzleach kol om shesvivav. So he was fulfilling it, so he said he's Mashiach. They were adding more conditions, more Tanoim. Rabbi Akiva says, I don't hold of your Tanoim.
Right.
When did he stop? That's why you can answer. The Rambam uses a double lashon. It says,
just because Rambam wrote halachic work, right?
Yeah.
And he held that Mashiach doesn't need to do miracles, like Rabbi Akiva. So if you have another opinion who says no, he does.
It needs to be a halachic opinion. It can't just be an opinion, because there's a million opinions for everything.
But I'm saying, so just because he wrote a book and he held like Rabbi Akiva, right, doesn't mean that a Rishon could come along and argue with him, and it has a halachic ramification. Just because the Rambam
anyone can say anything.
You can't say he's the last word in halacha. You can't say.
You find me a posik halacha that's cholik on the Rambam. Then we have what to talk. The way, look, you turn the page. Okay, let's read inside. Let's finish off with this.
Yeah.
Turn the page just to see one akud over here. Page Tzadik Tes.
By the way, you should know Chabad holds with that, but I don't think you have other gedolim that are non-Chabad hold this way.
That hold what?
That the halacha has to go like the Rambam.
It's nothing to do with Chabad or not. It's how do you pass in halacha. I have a question. If a guy wants to light the menorah, you're going to see a guy lighting the menorah the first night 8, the next day 7, the next day 6. He's going to say, what do you mean? There's opinion in the Gemara Beis Shammai. Well, who cares his opinion in the Gemara? You have a Shulchan Aruch, exactly. In Moshiach, there's no Hilchis Melech HaMashiach.
You have different days.
But there's no Shulchan Aruch. There's no halacha sefer.
Who's mechuyev? More like the Yemenites who have a tradition to follow like the Rambam. But once you have a Shulchan Aruch, you have
very good. But there's no Shulchan Aruch with Hilchas Mashiach. In Shulchan Aruch, there's no Shulchan Aruch. What's mechazik it that the Beis Yosef, which wrote the Shulchan Aruch, has a pirush on the Rambam and the Klolei HaRambam. They write. The beginning of the Rambam, they write the klolim of the Neisei Kelim of the Rambam is that in any place, b'chol mokim, shaloi hisigu alav, any place, they didn't write anything. They didn't ask any questions. This itself is a chocha that they're masking with the Rambam.
The Ramah argued on the Shulchan Aruch.
The Ramah, but over here, I'm just saying here in the Rambam, the Beis Yosef, which is the Machaber, the Radvaz, the Ravid, all of these things, they're not cholik on the Rambam. So, in order to be cholik, I'm just saying,
every point can't.
In these ilyonim, in these two prakim, I'm saying in other places say that I'm not saying that they're masking with the Rambam and the whole Rambam. They're mefeiros cholik on the Rambam and other things. I'm saying in these halachas, the Beis Yosef, the Kesef Mission, the Beis Yosef, the Machaber, the Radvaz, the Ravid, and all these things in the order in regarding the miracles, but in all the other ilyonim, they're not cholik on the Rambam. So who's smarter, who's a bigger posik? Some guy from some Rav over here is going to be cholik on the Beis Yosef, on the Machaber, on the Radvaz, on the Ravid, on the Rambam? Who could be stronger than them?
So
which of
an
Freidish?
example, you have the Ramban who wrote Sefer Geula. So he could argue. He could argue.
He's the Ramban. He's the Ramban.
All right.
Very good. If he's a point, but not over.
So therefore, you can have
Beside it,
an Achron that goes like the Ramban and not like the Ramban.
Very good, but I'm saying in these in Yonim,
Even in these,
but I'm saying we don't find it. That's what I'm saying. That's the fact. Show me, bring me.
I have to.
So find it. But let's just read. Go to page Tzadik Test. Let's just see one idiot over here. Read two paragraphs. Page Tzadik Test.
Tzadik Test.
Tzadik Test. I'm just going to read a little bit over here.
Oh yeah, we'll start. Wow, I'm gonna stop also.
Tzadik Test earlier.
Earlier. Okay.
No. You do nun base. Go pay dollar. Oh, you go back.
Pay Tzadik. Test.
Tzadik Test. Right. Let's start from the beginning. Psak din halacha lemaisa. Psak din halacha lemaisa udavke besifrei apoiskim. The Psak Din Halacha L'Maisa, how to act, is specifically in Sifrei HaPoskim. The Rebbe is not saying only in the Rambam. In general, how does a person act according to books of Piskei Halacha? V'loi b'midrash Chazal. A guy can't open up a medrash and start acting according to a medrash. V'afilu loi b'sugis chamurit shabashas. A guy so too, not even in severe sugis of the shas, a guy can also pass him to halacha. It needs to be Sifrei HaPoskim. V'nei Psak Din Borur Mefurish. Nifsik ba'aloch al di Rambam sevel chas malachim b'yusad el kabel ksuvim v'teira b'navim v'razal. So the Rambam paskins a clear psak din, which the Rambam wrote it. It's b'yusad on ksuvim, teira, navim, and drasha razal. So then the Rebbe brings the first part, what is this part. And I'll go later on a little bit. 1 second. Okay, kuf. Turn to the next page. The third paragraph of B'chol in Yonim Eilu, and all of these in Yonim, which the Rebbe brings out, like the order, what Moshiach is going to do, ain't shum poisik. This is the Rebbe's emphasize. There was no poisik. Chaylik al Rambam is there. No poisik is chaylik on the Rambam. The Melech HaMashiach is going to build the Beis HaMikdash. First the Beis HaMikdash, after that Kibbutz Golis. V'yudua or kabafursim bekloli Rambam. The Rebbe brings in the footnote, Rei Mishnah LaMelech Hilchas Kalayim Perek Tes Avalach Ed Aleph or Bisvarim Shenisim B'dei Chamet Klal HaPoskim. Now you want to look at the bottom. Look over there. Hey, order hey. Ve'im Aravid Choylek Olav Esvirelei. If the Rambam holds it's Choylek and then he holds otherwise. If the Rambam doesn't hold like him, so the Rambam would have the Ravid would have right away right our soga on the Rambam if he doesn't hold like him. Me'acher shesham loy hisigu, because the Ravid is not over there in that specific case. Maybe in other cases, yeah, but in that specific case, he does not. Right there, Yasogo. V'hashsiko koido domi. This that he's quiet and he doesn't write Yasogo shows that he agrees with him. Now you see, stay cham klal beizim zevavtiv katan alf. Haravet klal muskim hu ki hu b'makom shloi yisigu la'ramam svirelei kavasei. There's a klal muskim. This is what the stay cham writes. If in any place that he does not write a Yasogo on the Rambam, he holds like him. Kain Kosav Maran Hachaviv Knesset Agdola B'Klali HaPoskim. This is what the Maran Chaviv writes in the Sefer Knesset Agdola in the Klali HaPoskim. That's the name of the Sefer, Klali HaPoskim. Islam and Hevi Dvarov, and so too Hevi Dvarov Rav Chaim V'Sholim. This is the Chidah. Tav Gimel Lamed Beit. V'chein Kosav B'Tshuva Simen Tzadik Tes V'Seif Yud Kof Aleph K'Mish Kosav Rav Mincha Zichrin Naru Dav Tzadikei Yitzid Beit. He brings home just for him. This is what the Chaim writes, that whenever the Ravid does not write a Asogo, he agrees with the Rambam.
Yeah, I've heard such a call.
V'chein batzasi la'radvaz b'tshuvet sachadosh esif simon lamedalet shekosav kei nine sham. So the Radvaz writes it. U'mekoyach klal zeh rabbi min chabodei arash hey maro kein tomo b'mekama mekemit shekosav ha'peiskim b'shem ha'rayvid hey b'chsvaras ha'rambam tamay lo yisigu b'asagoyisov. How could, if he did not write any asoga on him, if he wouldn't hold like him, he would have write asoga on him. Don't bring the raya as a raya that the.
Right. Usually every time he comments, he argues. Let me ask you: does he help explain the Rambam sometimes?
Not really. A little bit. A little bit here and there. 1 second. Wait a second. kids, the Nakuda from the whole word over here is that this Techemet. The Rebbe writes of the Rebbe says to look into. The Rebbe writes. How could write? People are writing certain things in the name of the Rebbe against the Rambam. So what's the Stechamet's question? If the Rebbe Taka held like him, so then in the Rambam he would have write otherwise. But because he didn't write otherwise as a Raya, how could you bring that Rebbe as a source?
Against him
the Rambam, because he didn't write anything as on the Rambam. That means he holds like him.
Right.
The Ma'ila Yisigabasa Gaisef. Because if you want to look in this whole long thing, a whole bunch of swim, let's say this in the so back inside where it says Meklali Rambam, the Yiduakaba first in Meklali Rambam, Shebemokin, Shenoisi Klei Rambam. Lo Yisigwalov in a place. But they're not being masking.
Magid Mishnah, Kesef Mishnah.
Magid Mishnah, and the Rebbe is going to say in a second. This is a proof that they agree with the Rambam. Or Benidin, in our case, who are these nicer Kalim that are masking with the Rambam with Psaktin? Hareza Harayvit. Hakesef Mishnah, which is Abei Seisif Marana Machaber. Haradvaz V'chulu. B'chulu, there's other places. So the Rebbe continues. Who is this Groise Manda Omar that's going to be choilik on all of these Rishonim? And all of these Achroin, whatever that say, the Advaz, the Kesef Mishnah, who could?
Why can't you learn that they were more silent because it's in a Haggadah? Yeah.
If they did not hold like him, they held otherwise, they would say something. If they're quiet, is that that they're masking with him. That's it. Whatever the reason is, even if you're gonna.
Everyone, the Nosekim, all agree except for the Inyan Mofsi?
Yes. Mm-hmm. You can see, open up the Rambam, you'll see that's the only Hasaga of the Ravid or any other Mefarshim on the Rambam. So guys, going to open up different Mefarshim on the Tanakh and find other Mefarshim that learn.
It's a bit difficult because you have, let's say, the Ramban, who is a Rishon.
So let's continue, just 1 second.
You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, let's just finish.
Can an Achron go like the Ramban against the Rambam?
That's not the halacha.
No, in these matters where they are.
Let's finish this thing till then. If a guy is going to open up one of them Mefarshim on the Tanakh that says something else that doesn't fit the way that Rambam says. It says that this is just like the guy is going to say wants to start off Shabbos from the Shabbos morning till Sunday morning.
So look, this is how the Rebbe. I like to see how the other Mefarshim Rambam. This is how the Rebbe held. So I hear his mahal.
Now let's just finish. Kevan shahar Rashbam. Shaya Paisa Gamkin Mafarash Ken Bepurush Alater. The Rashbam, I said the Rashbam, I made a mistake. The Rashbam, which was also a Paisik, he in his Purush Alater, Vayada Vayibaikid, he says that Shabbos starts from Shabbos day till the next day. And he, in his time, he was doing Malach by Shabbos by night. There's a whole story, whatever, I don't want to get into it, but the Mefarshim, they came to that Advaz, I think it was in the same time.
Finish the next package.
Shimta Mishahu Shayamer Shadafka who Hamavin my Mari Chazal Besanhedrin Vachulu for who Hacholik al Psaktin Mafurish the Aramam Varaivid the Maran Rachaber Vachulu. The Rebbe says, I'm wondering how could such a thing be? A guy that come up and say he knows the Mari Chazal in Sanhedrin, he better than the Rambam. He knows it more than he's smarter than the Rambam, the Raivid, the Machaber V'chulu. They knew everything, and they said this is the way it's going to be. Ubavadai, upshita, sharamam yoda, v'lomad, v'hevin oisam toiv, the fachis k'may eilam etzatitim oisam. It's for sure, and it's the simplest thing that the Rambam knew and learned, and he understood very well, at least, as well as all these people that are quoting all these other Ma'amari Chazal. For sure the Rambam knew it, understood it good and well. The Rambam didn't miss by mistake. Ma'amari Chazal, Moshiach, B'Shas Bavli, Yerushalmi, Yised LaHaramban, Sherashirim Rabba, Ayuduim, V'Vakaba Mekaibis V'chuli. She'af Shelidiresh B'hem, L'Varam, L'Shakalatarib, V'chulu, Al Derech Sheisa B'Divri B'Ei Shammai, Av She'Shabam, Nigel, L'Poilo, B'Sak T'nei Eina Mishnah. Because a Pesach in Baruch Canal. So this is the way the Rebbe learns.
So I have a question for you. So the Rebbe clearly goes in Yonei HaMashiach, certainly like the Rambam.
Yeah.
So if you learn Kapshuta Rambam, it's very clear that the Mashiach is going to do what he needs to do like it's not like going to do part of a mission, die and come back and do it. This is one thing I always bring up. Yeah.
It's not so clear. Why? Because the Rambam, I'll tell you why. The Rambam says that Rabbi Akiva held that Ben Kaziba was Moshiach. Right? Rabbi Akiva held Ben Kaziba was Moshiach. Which means anything in the history, and the Rambam says, when did Ben Kaziba lose his status of Rabbi Akiva saying at him that he was Moshiach?
When he got killed.
1 second. No, let me finish. No. That's another thing, but I'm not getting into that. Right. And whatever.
That's a whole other thing. You stop.
1 second.